Everyone dreams of money superpowers, printing cash, bending the stock market, or time traveling to buy Apple at $1. But every one of these cheat codes would absolutely ruin your life. Let me prove it. The dream: go back to 1980, buy Apple stock, come back to the present, and you can retire forever. But in reality, you're trying to explain to the IRS why someone born in 1990 has brokerage records from a decade before their birth certificate. Your past self doesn't even exist yet, which means you'd need fake IDs, false tax documents, and maybe an entirely different identity in every era you visit. And then there are paradoxes. Buy Microsoft, and suddenly Bill Gates never exists because you stole the parking spot where his parents first met. Invest in Netflix too early, and Blockbuster survives just long enough to wipe it out. Your retirement portfolio would change every time you touched history, one butterfly effect at a time. And good luck paying taxes. Imagine sitting in 1927, trying to explain capital gains on an exchange-traded fund that won't exist until 1993. Best case, they think you're insane. Worst case, you invent prison before it's invented. Congratulations, you're not a millionaire. You're the world's first temporal financial fugitive, wanted across 3 centuries for crimes no one even has words for yet. The power to create unlimited money sounds like the ultimate cheat code for life, but economics would like a word with you. Every time you conjure $100 out of thin air, you're essentially stealing $100 worth of purchasing power from everyone else on Earth. Do it enough, and you'd single-handedly cause hyperinflation worse than Germany in the 1920s, when people needed wheelbarrows full of cash to buy bread. Your superpower would make everyone's savings worthless, crash the global economy, and probably trigger World War III as countries blame each other for the mysterious money explosion. The Federal Reserve would hunt you down like your patient zero of financial apocalypse. You'd go from superhero to supervillain just by buying groceries. Plus, every purchase would be traced back to bills that technically don't exist in any government database, making you look like the world's most obvious counterfeiter. Being able to control stock prices with your thoughts seems like the perfect way to get rich quick, but the SEC would probably classify you as a weapon of mass financial destruction. Every time you think Tesla should go up and it jumps 50%, you'd be creating billions in market cap out of pure mental energy. The problem is that markets are supposed to reflect actual value, not your random thoughts about which companies have cool logos. You'd accidentally crash entire sectors because you got distracted thinking about lunch and somehow tanked the restaurant industry. Your emotions would become economic indicators. Having a bad day would trigger a bear market, and your morning coffee mood would determine whether pension funds make or lose billions. The government would either lock you up in a bunker or make you the unofficial Federal Reserve chairman, which are equally terrifying options. You'd spend more time in congressional hearings than using your powers, explaining why you accidentally made GameStop worth more than Apple because you were feeling nostalgic. Having the power to find any lost treasure sounds amazing, until you realize most of it technically belongs to someone else. Grave robbing? Still illegal. That sunken Spanish galleon? Spain wants it back. The buried pirate gold? Some distant descendant shows up waving a suspiciously well-preserved inheritance record. Ancient Egyptian artifacts? Congratulations, you're now in a decade-long legal battle with half the world's museums. Every government suddenly claims jurisdiction over your finds, demanding their fair share of the treasure you risked your life to discover. To keep even a single gold coin, you'd need an army of lawyers, archaeologists, and diplomats on retainer. At that point, the real treasure isn't gold, it's finding a loophole. Plus, flooding the market with ancient gold would crash precious metal prices, making your treasure worth less than the legal fees to claim it. You'd essentially become the world's most expensive metal detector, spending more on court costs than you'd ever make from buried treasure. The ability to see the future value of any investment sounds like insider trading and a guaranteed prison sentence. Sure, you'd know that buying Bitcoin at $1 would make you rich, but try explaining to a federal judge why you had perfect market timing for 847 consecutive trades without any research, analysis, or apparent knowledge of the companies you're investing in. You'd become the most investigated person in financial history, with the FBI building an entire task force dedicated to figuring out how someone with a high school diploma consistently outperforms Goldman Sachs' best analysts. Every trade would be scrutinized for insider information, market manipulation, and connections to time travel, which isn't technically illegal, but would definitely raise questions. The stress of knowing every future market crash, recession, and bubble would probably give you anxiety disorders. You'd know exactly when to sell everything before a crash. But watching the world economy collapse in slow motion while being unable to warn anyone would be psychological torture. Turning anything into gold sounds like peak flex. King Midas tried it. He starved. You'd do worse. Your phone, now a gold brick. Your coffee, a gold paperweight. Your car, a 2-ton sculpture that doesn't move. Your dog? Let's not even go there. Even if you could control it, unlimited gold means gold is suddenly worthless. You would have so much of gold, and yes, people will still rob you for it. Imagine getting mugged for something you can literally sneeze into existence. But most importantly, you wouldn't be able to watch Instagram reels. So sad. Stealing from billionaires to give to the poor sounds heroic, until you realize you've basically turned into a tax evader with superpowers. The second their money goes missing, every billionaire you touched would unleash swarms of private investigators, accountants, and probably a few private armies. You wouldn't just be up against one rich guy, you'd be up against the combined weight of the Fortune 500, plus whatever mercenaries Jeff Bezos has on speed dial. And the IRS? Oh, they'd love you. They'd audit you, your friends, and anyone you ever gave $1 to. Suddenly, regular people you were trying to help are now tax criminals, because technically, stolen money still counts as taxable income. So instead of being Robin Hood, you're basically an unpaid accountant trying to keep poor families out of jail. Meanwhile, the rich would just adapt, moving their money offshore, hiding it in crypto, and burying it under so many shell companies that even your superpowers couldn't find it. Before long, you're less hero of the people and more international financial fugitive, desperately trying to stay one step ahead of tax law in 17 different countries. The power to instantly know someone's exact net worth sounds like it'd be great for networking, until it ruins literally every relationship you have. Suddenly, you know which friends are secretly loaded and which ones are broke, so every normal interaction turns into you silently calculating whether they can actually afford to split the dinner bill. Dating? Forget it. Half the people you meet will think you're a gold digger, and the other half will assume you're accusing them of being one. Either way, every first date turns into an FBI interrogation about how you somehow know their bank balance. It gets worse. You'd never be able to trust anyone's motives again, because you'd always be wondering if money is driving their behavior. Rich people would avoid you because they think you're after their cash, and broke people would resent you for knowing way too much about their financial problems. Before long, you're the most hated guest at every dinner party, sitting there knowing more about people's money than their spouses do. That useful superpower? It's basically just social suicide wrapped in a privacy violation. And that's why money superpowers would absolutely ruin your life. Sure, they sound amazing in theory, but in practice, they'd make you either a criminal, a government experiment, a temporal fugitive, or just really depressed about human nature. The real superpower is probably having enough money to pay rent without checking your bank account balance. But apparently that's too realistic for comic books. I am your host, Mr. X Banker. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.